call this meeting to order for the City Council. Sandy? All right. You need him to do the mic? Chris?
6:01, call a meeting to order for the Park Board.
Thank you. In accordance with the order of the Office of the Governor issued on March 16th, as extended by the Office of the Governor on June 12th, 2020, the City Council for the City of Duncanville, Texas will conduct a City Council joint meeting by video conference at 6 p.m. on Monday, October 12th. In order to advance the public goal of limiting face-to-face meetings, also called social distancing, in the effort to slow the spread of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. There will be no public access to the physical, there will be no public access to this physical access. Okay, no, that's all right. A YouTube recording will be provided no later than October 16, 2020. To submit public comments, email citysecretary@duncanville.com and the title of email public comments October 12th. All public comments submitted by 4 p.m. on Monday, October 12th will be provided to the City Council members and entered into the record for the October 12th, 2020 City Council joint meeting with Parks and Recreation Board. You will need to register with the link below and attend the meeting during the citizens' comments period of the agenda. The City Secretary will call your name and allow access to your camera and microphone for you to provide the comments. And with that said, there are no there are no public comments today. So with that said, we're to item number 3 on the agenda. City Council will deliberate the following items. However, no vote or action by the council will be taken. A, discuss Harrington Park master plans. We turn it over to our Parks and Rec Director, Bart Stevenson. And while Bart's coming down, also I want to let y'all know too is that we are short on time, so we need to finish up before 7 o'clock today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bart Stevenson, Director of Parks and Recreation. I just want to take an opportunity to thank everyone for coming out tonight to help us move forward with Harrington Park and our improvements there from the 2018 bond election. My purpose here really today is just to introduce our consultants. With us today, we have Dennis Sims with Duncan Sims Stoffels and Alan McGee with McGee Architects. So they're going to run us through the presentations here and our options here for the architecture for the buildings. As you know, this is this project has some challenges because it's site specific. So they'll run through all those opportunities and suggestions for you. So we'll go forward.
Thanks, Bart. Again, my name is Dennis Sims, and what we're going to do is basically the same presentation that we've made to the Park Board and that we made to the council, and we're going to start off from the beginning with the bridge and the location of it, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about the site in Harrington Park where the concession and restroom buildings are going to go. First slide. This is the location, the approximate location of where the bridge is going to go. You can see it as it crosses 10 Mile Creek. The bridge is approximately right now 135 feet in length. It will connect Waterview Park up with the neighborhood and allow access for the school children to be able to get to the elementary school to the south. We are currently in the process of, we have met with TRA. TRA, speak in the mic, not walk. Okay. Thank you. Is this on? Thank you. We have a TRA, Trinity River Authority easement, that we will need to work with them on to cross, and we are in the process of doing that. The type of bridge that's going to cross the 10 Mile Creek is the Corten Bridge, which you have the small photograph in the corner. It's going to be a bridge very similar to that. They're fairly attractive, and they are used widely in the park and recreation area. And it's really a pretty economical way to cross a creek when you get a prefab bridge. So There's a lot of work that has to go into that and working with various agencies. I won't get into that, but we've located that bridge on site. We've been out there 2 or 3 times to verify that that's going to be the best location for it. Next slide. This slide also is a board up here. Look either way, but we are adding as part of the bond program a parking lot expansion, and that parking lot is approximately, if I remember correctly, around 150 spaces that will be added and used for your athletic fields. Parking is needed there desperately. So this, in working with staff, that was the location where we sited the parking lot. The white square up to the left of the parking lot is the location of the picnic pavilion. That's also part of the initiative, and we're working on some of the concepts right now in a preliminary fashion. We have sidewalks that are going to connect the parking lot to the baseball complex and then across the street down to the baseball. What you see, the kind of half court area with the square in it, that's the location of what we are calling the soccer restroom concession building. The concession restroom building, your existing one that you can see the brown square up at the top, that's going to be demoed out, taken out, and be replaced with the new one. There's not a lot of site restraints on that. That structure is in the floodplain. The floodplain basically runs on the south side of the road. We have a little bit more leeway working on that structure and the placement of it. And the second structure is the baseball. We refer to that as the baseball restroom concession building, and it's going to go in the exact same spot that the one you have there now. We do have more floodplain restrictions there. In working with your engineering staff here, they have requested that we maintain the exact same outline or floor plan, not floor plan, but the exact outline of the building. So we're going to take that out, and we're putting the same square footage right back in to meet your floodplain regulations. Alan will go into that in more detail, but that particular building is this one here. We're also restricted in there. You've got shade structures that are up. There's ADA issues in the plaza area. So we're addressing all of those in replacing that building. It's also going to be a little bit of a challenge to demo that building and get it out since it's already confined. They're going to take it to the west to take it out. I've worked with a couple of contractors and called them just to get cost estimates to do that and what would be the best way to take that building out. We have some slides coming up in just a second that Alan's going to go over showing you the interior of that building. From a budget standpoint, for the buildings, what we're looking at is approximately $30,000 to demolition the baseball restroom concession, $20,000 to demolition the other soccer restroom, the existing one. We have to provide utilities, water and sewer to the soccer restroom facility, sidewalks and paving adjustments for both buildings, and then the cost of the concession buildings. And that comes to $1,119,250 based on a construction estimate at this point. That's not the bid price, that's our estimated construction cost. Your bond allocation for that was $1,050,000. So at this point, we're over approximately $69,250. I'm fairly comfortable with that going out for bid. We'll see what the market is when we get our pricing back, but that's fairly close. But as it stands right now, we're over budget a little bit. And so far, we've been asked to try to stay within those numbers, and that's what we're trying to do. So with that, the next slide. I'm going to let Alan start. He's going to go over some of the existing photographs of the building, and then he has some additional design concepts that he wanted to present to you this evening. Alan?
Good evening. Uh, These are some of the photographs of the existing baseball concession restroom facility. And when we first looked at it, we wanted to try to make sure that we did have to demolish it. We wanted to say, because the cheapest building you have is one you can remodel. This building is really not suitable for that. And as you see in the upper left-hand corner, that gives you a little bit of the scale of the building with a gentleman standing in the back over there. And then when you come to the next one over, you have need for storage because you have outside storage there. And then the bottom left, you can see some of the condition of what's happening within the facility. It's been remodeled and moved and pushed and pulled quite a bit. We also have separation in multiple places with the CMU on the outside. Next slide. Yes. And the upper left corner, that's a typical space that we're looking at there, which doesn't meet any kind of code or anything else as we went through it. And then over the left, that's plumbing that we have in that one. Next slide. We can go back to any of these you want to. ADA, Dennis mentioned those. We don't meet any type of ADA at this particular point in time with the new changes that they've made over the years. We have an exposed water heater in one of the restrooms as well, which is not a preferred arrangement. Next slide. And this is the condition that we wanted to take to do for the preliminary floor plan for the baseball. If you notice in the upper left corner, there's a small room. That room coincides with where your main electrical power comes in at this particular point in time. That was something that was crucial to us doing that. So we had to fit because of the limitations that Dennis spoke to about the area around it with the ball fields and the shade structures, et cetera, we had to limit the new building to pretty close to what the old foundation was. And so in doing that, one of the things we want to make sure we kept, just from an economy standpoint, was the power. And that's crucial because you run probably, 500-600 feet or more to get to, if we had to pull new power, it's several hundred feet. And so we feel like from an economy standpoint, that's best to keep that in that same location and work around it. So having done that and staying to the full footprint, you get a concession area, you get a small, up to the upper right corner, you get a small sort of janitorial sort of ante room, and then you have the concession area. Then you have the two restrooms on the backside. And typically what we will do with these, you see in the center, there's center stripe, that's the chase. And that chase is heated. And with that also too, you would be able to heat both of the restrooms if you choose to. That's the way we typically do those now. We've done them in several communities, and that gives you the best operation to keep all your plumbing heated and keep it from freezing. And it also gives you a little more comfort in those restrooms. Now, if y'all have been in a baseball restroom or a soccer restroom, in the middle of winter, it's 30 degrees outside. Warm is a relative term because there are a lot of people going in and out, but we are putting probably 350, 400 CFM in each one of those to temper the space for the participants. Next slide. With the soccer restroom concession, it's based on basically the same plan. The reason we did that is so when we send it out, we have the contractor, he looks at it and goes, that's easy. They're both basically the same, one slightly larger, because we have capability of providing a little better protected entrance to the restrooms and a few more fixtures in each side so that you have more people that can take to use the restrooms quicker, easier, that sort of thing. It's done basically the same way with the chase. That chase also includes hose bibs, hot water, so that you can take and come in and hose everything down, because everything in there is CMU or some hard surface, so that there's nothing that you can't wash or spray and keep it clean and make it easy to work. There's drains along one side. It'll all meet ADA. Concession is basically the same. It's slightly wider. And then the electrical room, we have the choice on this one as to where that goes. So we kept it basically in the same place. That way everything is one side only. Next slide. One of the early schemes that we looked at was just sort of replacing the baseball as it was. This is new stone on the outside. It is a double layer wall so that you have less water penetration. When you have a single layer wall, you have a tremendous opportunity for water penetration, which creates other issues. So this way you have a cavity that keeps that separate, and it also provides a good, hard, durable surface. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it doesn't seem like that long ago I played ball, but it has been a long time. But kids, when I was growing up, and kids in most of the communities we see now, balls get loose, bats get loose. So you need a facility that has a lot of hard durability to it. So the the stone gives you that opportunity. It also gives you a unique look. And so that is one scheme that we had there. The cupola at top, we have various vent fans and exhaust fans in the concession and or the restrooms. And so those will be tied to that. So we have minimal penetration through the roof itself. That way we have fewer chances for leaks. And this has been a successful scheme for us in the past whenever we take them out louvers like that. Next slide. This is in the same, if you do the first one, then you probably want to do the second one, have sort of a campus effect. That's what we've talked about in the past. This is the soccer pavilion. This is to the roadside. This will be the entry to the restrooms. Next slide. This is what it would look like on the other side. We've added a trellis to that point. It faces the field, so on the concession side, if you are bringing your drinks or you're going to get a snack, you'll be able to sit under the trellis, have a little shade, and be able to watch the game, watch your kids, see what's going on, and still take care of that. Because a lot of times you have multiple children with you in your family or with your friends, and you've got to try to keep them all sort of around in the same area. So this is sort of a central point you can take and see most of the fields of what's going on. Next slide. Now, having done that, we were asked, how else can we, we can't really change the footprint on the baseball, but we can change the materials. And so in this particular case, we took and used a rustication at the bottom with a stone and a limestone or a cast stone water table, which will allow the other material to toss top, take the water out. We also, this would be, the straps on this would either be plaster or some sort of ACM, which is a metal. Right now we're leaning more towards plaster because it's a little harder. If you hit some of the metal with baseballs, some of it's a little cheaper than plaster, but if you hit it with baseballs, it leaves dents. So we're trying to make it as indestructible as possible when a ball gets loose from someone. Next slide. This again is the soccer. So we're showing them in sequence. You see the baseball, then you see the soccer. This is the street side again, showing the restroom entrance. Next slide. And then this would be the trellis side. So we changed the color, changed the fenestration somewhat. Depending on which side you're on, you also have bulletin boards. You have your Duncanville logo, if that's the logo you choose to continue with on these facilities. So you have some ID across there. So there's plenty of room and space for that. Next slide. This is the baseball again. This is a gabled approach where each side would have a similar gable with columns on either side and an arched steel beam across. You still have the same cupola for the exhaust air, but it identifies where, for instance, on the far right, you see the logo. Well, that would be the bulletin board showing where all of your teams would be, how they would be arranged for a tournament or for league play or how they're going for the season. You could put whatever you want to there. Those bulletin boards are secure, lockable bulletin boards. They do not have glass in them. They're Lexan. So that they're durable, and you can put pretty much whatever behind that so everybody knows what's going on or whatever you need to post. Next slide. This is the soccer with a similar type of arrangement. That's the restroom side. And you see the columns, how they come up. We're using two different types of stone there on the columns and a different stone on the building above the water table. Next slide. We added a little bit of a gable out to the side central that's lined up with the concession area. And so that creates a little different approach there with a trellis. It sort of bisects the trellis, gives you two separate seating areas on either side as well as under the gable area. One of the things I know that was mentioned in one of our meetings was, what do you do about birds? And we like birds in general, but we just don't like them on our building. And so we've become very adept at some of the details that we have. So any type of truss or material like that we have up there is bird proof, or as bird proof as we can make it. And so we've learned over time what to do to make sure that they don't roost or nest there, so we don't leave them little cubby holes or places to perch. So we'll use perforated metal and trim and different things like that to make everything as flush as possible so they don't have a place to land. That will not keep them from landing on your gutters of the building. There's not much we can do for that. And I'll tell you one quick little funny story, and Dennis, you can tell me to stop whenever, but we did the service center in Mansfield. And we had an open trellis in the front, sort of a flying canopy. It was a metal building, and they wanted a little something extra in the front, and so we did. And I wanted to make sure that we didn't have any birds there. And so I go over after it's been up for about 3 months. I walk in the front door and I notice bird stuff all around the entry. And my project manager and designer were with me, and I said, guys, I thought we were going to keep the birds off. And they said, well, we are. There's, look up. There's nothing for them to perch on. And so sure enough, we walked in and the receptionist said, well, I noticed you were looking at maybe some of the bird leavings. And we said, yeah. And she says, well, you're not going to believe this, but she said, they don't land on the building. They land on the sidewalk, and they walk up to the glass and see themselves in the glass and walk back and forth in front of the glass about 6 inches away. And so all around the outside, you have this nice little 6-inch sidewalk of bird paraphernalia. So we try our best to keep them off, and I think these buildings will be successful with that. Ours in the past have been. So next slide. This is another, this is a baseball again. This is another one-pitch slope with sort of a cantilever overhang. And you notice over the concession opening, there's a grill there. We're thinking that could be an upward acting coil door that would come down. It's perforated metal and will come down over the concession area. The concession area would have glass in it with the little operable windows so that you keep the conditioning in as much as possible. You pull that down at night, locks it up secure. It's perforated metal. It's easy to apply. Fairly easy to use, and it works really well in an upward acting coil door. So that's it, Dennis.
I think what we're looking for tonight is input back from, we have the park board here and the council. This was the building that was approved by the park board before and presented to the council in June. So we were asked to go back and look at some different alternatives, and that's what we've done. We've worked with staff up to this point to present them. So we would like your feedback as to which direction you'd like to go with the building, and in that way we can move forward with construction documents if we can get a consensus tonight. So with that, do I turn it back over to Mayor Pro Tem or?
First, thank you for going back and making the different designs. As a member of the park board and a parent, I am Pam Rogers from the park board, the vice president. As a parent that spends a lot of time out here and a park board member, is pros and cons to all of them. One of my big questions is can the green be blue? Because we have these canopies and we want to feel like it matches and it all goes together. Is this green a hard stop? That's my number one question. Because I'm not sure about the green and the blue going together. If I had to make a decision tonight, I would choose this one. My only questions about this one is these two boards right here. When you're at the concession, you can't see left or right, so can these two boulders maybe go in some? But this does provide some shade for families. If we were to go with this one, can it be two-tone? That's just all grayed out, similar to the top of this. Just so it can add a little bit more character, is my question on that one. And then this one, does it provide enough shade or overhang for if it's raining and people are getting their food? And that's why I was liking this one a little bit more, because I'm not sure if this provides a little covering over when you're getting your food if the weather's inclement. Those are my.
I can answer those for you. Thank you. You may have another question. First of all, as far as the color goes, that's a color that we selected originally. This is schematic, and we're looking at those. So any color that we would want to take to make it blend in with your community or with your campus effect, wherever you are, that's easy enough to do, and we can take and do that very easily. As far as the striping here, we're trying to show different things in each of these so that, yes, that's, we do it here and that's interchangeable whenever you get to the end of it. And what we do through Dennis is before you get to see everything at least 3 times, okay? So when we get ready to go into construction drawings, we'll take and make a selection and we'll show you samples. You'll see those. Then the contractor will take and submit those. You get to see them again. And then before you build the building, they build a little mock-up. And so you get to see it sort of life size again. So you get 3 shots at it across there because, you know, if you've been to the paint store, they go about 4 million different types of paint. They're all about this big. And you say, well, I really like that terracotta. And you put it on the wall and it ends up pink or yellow or, you know, whatever color, because it's not what it was on the chart the way you thought it was. So we want to try to avoid that. And we can show that ahead of time we'll update the rendering when we get to your final selection. We'll update that with the colors that you think of those that we go into construction drawings. So we'll do that. As far as, let's see, you said the columns. Was it this one with the columns that you were talking about? Yeah, those are actually structural, you know, as they go up. So we can make those and look at making them thinner or extend them out a little bit further. The overhang on all of these is 3 feet. So the building you have now is about a little less than 2 feet in most of the places. So we felt like an extra foot or so out would make a lot of difference for the very reason you talked about. We can make it further, but 3 feet gets to be about the stretch with the type of structure that we're using. But it's easy enough to extend it. It just takes a little more to do that. So did that answer all your questions? Okay.
Park Board, Jeremy, come on.
Jeremy Kuntz, I'm on the park board. The bridge, I noticed that the trail, at least on the design, that it went connected to the neighborhood. Is that bridge, is it going to be in a location that allows it to be connected to the park? Or did that trail have anything to do with the bridge itself?
The bridge is located the best location. Sorry. The bridge is located for the best location on 10 Mile Creek, and then the trail, yes, it goes all the way up to the neighborhood.
Okay, so I'm asking if the trail will connect to the park itself, Harrington Park.
To Waterview.
No, so it connects to
Okay.
Waterview on one side, will it connect to Harrington on the other side?
Right now, they don't. You gonna do a grant later for that?
The other side, the other side is Harrington Park. It's just not many people know about that because it's not ball fields right there. But that is part of Harrington Park, and you can walk through nature trails to get over to the soccer fields to Harrington Park.
Okay, so I'm
At
just
some point,
asking-
there'll probably be concrete, but yes, at this point, you'll be able to get to the neighborhood, and then you'll be able to take the nature trails over to the park.
Okay,
So
so-
what you know as a park, the active park.
right.
But that is all part of Harrington Park.
Okay, so
Yeah.
because I'm also thinking about the citywide trail plan. So if we're gonna have a sidewalk that goes to the neighborhood, are we gonna have to make another sidewalk that goes to the park to be a part of the citywide plan?
I think at some point we would like to have a trail system within Harrington Park. Now that's obviously something in the future. At that point, we'd have a concrete trail that would connect to that trail. But right now, again, there are natural trails that people have created on their own that exist to get to the park from that area.
Can we at least propose the idea of connecting that sidewalk to the park now instead of?
Sure,
Have to
we
redo
do
it
have
later.
trail funds that were approved as part of the bond election. If we would choose to to use the funds on that part of the project, we certainly can do that.
That was it.
But the main purpose of really of that trail and that of the trail and the bridge is to allow the kids from that neighborhood to be able to walk to school. Right now, to get to Brandenburg, they have to go all the way out and around in cars. There's no way for them to physically walk or ride their bike to school if you live over by Harrington Park. So that trail and bridge will allow them to walk or ride their bike to school.
Well, yeah, if we're gonna have the citywide trail plan, then preferably now we just go ahead and connect it to Harrington on the other side, but also understand what you're saying about the kid. Yeah. Thank you.
Mark Cook, City Council. Hey, I want to know about the elevation on any one of the models to tell me the life of the elevation. I know normally particularly the one that's flat. Do you normally, have you already built this before, flat one? The flat elevation, has that been built before?
No, that's not flat. This is.
It's just angle?
It's got a pitch like this. It's just the angle you're looking at. But yeah, this is, at this point, you're probably, at this point, you're up about 14 feet, down to about 11 feet. So there's 14, 15 feet here, and you're sloping down across this way. So it's a single pitch slope is what that one's portraying. And it was just different from the others where we tried to make a hip roof up across it or gables. So this is just a single slope to sort of show you what the scale of one of those would be.
With the new life normal being social distance, what have you included that will participate in social distance, such as building out the concession stand? Is there some dividers there already? I know we're thinking this will go away, perhaps it won't. So the new normal will have some social distance. So what have you addressed social distance wise?
Social distance wise, as far as these renderings go, it doesn't really show it. It's really sort of hard to show a plexiglass or a clear, opening there. But there's a window here and a window here we'd be able to take to have those separated with the menu in between. And we would expect that social distancing would occur, and we could do it several different ways. And I don't know if Dennis has thought about this or not, but we can take to have items or molds placed in the concrete at 6 foot on center, so that it has a texture. You could color it if you wanted to, so you can take the line up back across this way and then still be able to see the center menu.
So that's including inside the building as well? What's inside the building?
Inside the building, depending on the number of staff, but you'd have the same type of separation. Similar to what you have here. You see it in grocery stores. You see it everywhere now, where you'll have some sort of partition, clear partition.
Tell me about lighting, any particular lighting on the outside or inside, and will these boards be lit at all? Any electronics in those boards, or is it just flat, you just post something up?
No, all the lighting on the whole facility will be LEDs. These would be lighted. If you decide to, keep those, we always use the lighted LEDs there. We have different types of lights that we're portraying here, for up lights or down lights, as far as general lighting around the facility itself. And we'll continue to look at those. You'll see all of those as well. Most of the time, what we'll use is a fairly simple cylindrical can that will take to wash the wall, and you sort of bring out the character of the stone.
And I promise the last question. So when you're looking at all of these 4 renderings, would you share with me your most popular one that you've built around, and then the least popular one that you have built for whatever reason or not?
Thank you. I think probably one of the most popular that we built would be this one over here. In North Richland Hills, we never build 2 alike, but in North Richland Hills, they have a structure similar to this, where we have a sort of flying steel beam. It's got an arch in it, and it really brings a lot of character and different setbacks from that. And it also is a structural element that will help support the roof. So I would say the articulation of this is one that we found best received in a lot of communities. As far as the least favorite, as far as just overall shape, I would say this one has proved to be the least favorite of the group, simply because it's a single slope. I mean, it's just ugly. What can I say? Now, it's a single slope, and we see a lot of things that are done this way, but I think in this particular setting, it would be my last pick, as far as what we would do. So, and the other thing I like about this one over here, and like I said, we experiment with this. It's got a little more contrast between the rustication at the bottom with the darker stone and lighter stone up above. So I like that articulation as well.
Council, any other comments? Mon?
I think it's opposite of everybody else. Well, this, since these are utility buildings, these different materials, they leave opportunity for water and penetrations over time. I like a solid material like this, because it's a lot easier to penetrate. And I like this too, because it has less opportunity for gutters and different things. This building here will probably last longer than the rest of them. And I think it looks the best. I think it's a contemporary looking building, and it is different. And I think it fits in at Harrington Park. But I would hate to put the stucco and those different pieces in there because that's just going to leave an opportunity for water and penetration over time. The valley's over there, and that one, also the same thing. This will probably last longer than that one over there. And for those reasons, I like this one. This one? Well, I like the looks of it for one thing, but this has one flat, water getting off this roof is really good. That one over there, it's going to be less good. And there's more places for problems up in the cupola over here. And all of these lines, every time you change material, you got an opportunity, that's got to be perfectly done. And that's why you got cracks in those bricks and those other ones over here. This one, it's got one level of, one level brick. I think this is more contemporary and modern and more relevant today. It's just a flat, the water just runs off of it really easy over here versus this. It's got places for water to just be in there to rust and things like that. Easier. It's just a utility building. It's not a big deal. Just, I think it'll last longer. Okay.
The material used on this one, if that same material is used on any of the renderings, you're saying you want one solid material to go all the way through for better upkeep?
I just think it lasts longer. I think it looks better. You see these everywhere. Those are okay. I mean, there's just the cupola and stuff is just very common. This is not common. And I think it's just, the rain hitting this, and I mean, it's not that big a deal. We're talking about, we're talking about inches, not big deals. Just the water runs off this really easy. Probably never have a problem in this roof. That roof over there, you got opportunities for problems with gutters. With the valleys and different, you got more opportunities, more cuts, more places to not be perfect when it's built. The brick too. No, the brick too. The brick here is all solid. It's solidly built. So it's just, you stack it up over here. You start to go up, you change materials. You change materials different times. Those where you have problems in lots of houses. You'll see problems where the materials change like that.
Thank you, Monty. Yonette? June?
I hate to disagree, but I have had buildings with flat roofs, and they don't roll off like they look. They sit there, and you have to have people come and take them. Well, and they were slanted, the ones we had, but they lay there like branches and debris. They don't roll off. It sounds like a good idea, and to me, this one is totally not creative. I like the texture and the contour of the first one. And absolutely, it is slanted and the way nothing would sit on it. More than, had this been there, and it doesn't do that. They do sit there. Material.
I just had one comment and one concern with this design, and that is, unfortunately, we have very adventurous young adults, and that is a big flat surface that individuals can get up on and have fun, if you will. So that was the first thing I noticed about this particular design that kind of struck me. So I just want to put that into the equation. No, it's slanted, but think about skateboarders and individuals who just really like to be creative. I mean, we have issues in many places where kids young adults, the extreme sports guys like to get on their bikes and get on their rollerblades and their skateboards and just do all kind of crazy things. So that kind of is inviting.
so one last thing. So I'm sure that we could take, if we were looking to have some other options, I'm sure we could see how this building will look with the stone here on that particular building. Is that something simple to look at? Interchangeable. Okay. All right. Thanks.
The way